So let's look at the behaviour of the foot and the ankle, as well as the distribution of load through the foot during walking through the three rocker phases of gait. But on top of the mechanical behaviour, we need to consider how the brain interacts with the foot and the ankle as well. So we're going to contact the ground initially through the lateral portion of the heel, which is known as the heel rocker phase. Then, as the whole foot contacts the ground here, that's when we'll enter the ankle rocker phase as the tibia progresses forward over the foot. And this is when we'll begin distributing that load from the lateral portion of the foot to the medial portion of the foot. And once we reach that first metatarsal head, that's when we can begin progressing forward into the forefoot rocker phase as the heel begins to lift. Now, neurologically, the movement through these three phases takes time, and with more time means more sensory feedback from all the muscle length and joint angle changes. But when we're experiencing pain or movement limitations, or just engaging in very specific tasks, we may not want a lot of sensory feedback to process from the muscles and joints, so we may skip certain phases of gait, and we'll explore this in the next segment. So in part 2, we'll discuss some of the strategies often used by individuals when they lack the capacity to move through these three rocker phases of gait. So to discuss this, we need to have a point of orientation, and the point of orientation that we're going to use is the first metatarsal head. So we need to understand how is the individual getting there, how are they distributing load there, or if they're even getting there at all. If we can understand the behaviour of the foot through that point of orientation, it makes it a whole lot easier because the foot is a very complex region. So one strategy often used is an outward rotation or an external rotation of the tibia and foot on the right side here to actually make it easier to roll off the inside of the first metatarsal head. Another strategy often used here is when the tibia and foot internally rotate to roll off the outside of the foot. So they're actually not even getting into the first metatarsal head at all here. So the key phase that both these strategies skip is the ankle rocker phase, where the tibia progresses forward, which is key to distribute that load into the first metatarsal head and distribute load into the plantar flexors. Okay, in part 3, let's discuss the differences in foot and ankle behaviour during walking and running. So during an activity like sprinting, we ideally don't want to spend too much time on the ground, so it wouldn't really make sense for us to move through these three rocker phases of gait. So we want to use strategies that get us to the ball of the big toe as quickly as we can, so we can transition from that collision to propulsion as fast as we can. So the strategies that we described at lower speeds in part 2, particularly when the tibia and foot are turned outwards, may actually be really helpful at higher speeds because we can get to the ball of the big toe faster. Now, not everyone's going to use this kind of strategy, and many are able to access the ball of the big toe without having to manipulate the proximal segments outward as much. But the key things to consider here is how speed, time, and intention will change the utility of certain strategies used during different forms of locomotion.